Welcome to the Scalable Marketing Machine Podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Hajar, marketing consultant for female founders and creator of the Scalable Marketing Machine Accelerator. I've helped dozens of women grow and scale their businesses from 6 to 7 figures and beyond, helping founders like you to implement my proven growth system that focuses on brand communication, marketing strategy, building your lean team, and leadership. On this podcast, we talk all about what it takes to get to the next level in marketing and in life, focusing on practical, tactical advice that will help you grow your business and explode your revenue. Are you ready to learn? Let's dive in. Welcome to this week's episode of the Scalable Marketing Machine. I'm your host, Victoria Hajar, and today we are talking all about how to turn your core values into compelling brand messaging. Okay, so many founders that I work with have strong values, right? Have strong vision for their company and for the dreams that they have and all of the things that they want to build. But they fail at translating those values into impactful messaging that's going to connect with their core ideal client and move them into action. So what we're going to talk about today are 3 specific actions that you can take to help match your brand values, your core values, and help translate that into impactful messaging that moves our ideal client into action. So if you're new here, I'm Victoria Hajar. I am a veteran marketing director and chief marketing officer for growth startups and scale-ups. I've worked for over 15 years all over the world, from China to Mexico to Dubai to the UK, helping amazing, accomplished founders get their businesses to the next level. Okay, so all of the frameworks and processes that I talk about here are ones that I have developed after many years of trial and error, or trial by fire, as I like to say, but ones that I have seen time and time again be incredibly successful in helping even the most accomplished founders. I've worked with businesses that have reached $1 million months. I've worked with founders that have built $1 billion businesses. These strategies work. And so this month in the next couple of weeks, is all dedicated to talking about brand. Because if you tuned into last week's episode, I talked about how to build a scalable marketing machine for your business this year. There are 4 core tenets of this framework of the scalable marketing machine. We've got brand, we've got marketing growth strategy, we've got team, and we've got leadership. Today, and for the next couple of weeks, as I said, we're talking all about brand, but not just brand as in your color and your logos. We're talking about brand as in your brand communication strategy. How effectively are you communicating with your ideal client and moving them into action? Now, I can't start this episode without double clicking on probably one of the most important aspects of your business, of your marketing, and of your brand communication strategy. And that is your ideal client avatar. And don't roll your eyes, because I feel like all marketers talk about how important the ideal client is, right? To have identified who that person is, right? Not just their demographics, but also their psychographics. Now, when I work with businesses, oftentimes they tap on my shoulder, they tap me into the game because they've reached a plateau. They've reached a revenue plateau that they're not seeing, founders, and I work primarily with female founders, and oftentimes female founders, they're the drivers of marketing, right? And so executing a lot of marketing themselves with their own hands and frankly getting a little bit burnt out, right? But there comes a point where in the beginning of your business, you have to do it. It's sort of a rite of passage. You have to do a little bit of everything in your business. And I think that's incredibly valuable to learn enough about all of aspects of your business to give it away. It's one of my core values. You need to understand any piece of your business. You have to understand it enough to give it away. Because I see so many founders that just start hiring out from the get-go for all of the things in their business without truly understanding how different pieces of the business work, and just kind of relinquishing all of that knowledge and responsibility to outside folks, where I think it's really important for you as the founder to understand the core tenets of your business, especially when it comes to marketing and sales. And so I come oftentimes into businesses where founders have been, it's founder-led sales and marketing, and they've reached a plateau in production, a plateau in revenue, but oftentimes this is associated with the plateau they've reached of their own skill level. Okay. And so what I do through my Scalable Marketing Machine Accelerator is help to up-level founders in their marketing ability and enable them to be the true leaders of their marketing department before they're ready to bring on a full-time marketing director, right? Because oftentimes you want to get to that next level of revenue where you can afford to bring on your, top tier leadership team, but we need the revenue, to start increasing in order to be able to do that. It's a chicken and an egg scenario. So that's a little bit of a plug for my accelerator program. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about how I work with founders to help them up a level their marketing, kind of get their revenue to the next level, you can check out uglyventures.com. That's ugly with an I, uglyventures.com/accelerator, UGLIVENTURES.com/accelerator. But getting back to the main point, I get tapped in when founders have reached this plateau. And more times than not, it can be mapped back to their ideal client, truly. Because what happens is that oftentimes there's two big pitfalls that I see businesses get into when it comes to marketing and why they sort of have become stagnant or even decreased in their production and their revenue. It's often because they have deviated in some way from who their ideal client is, trying to reach a larger audience in order to bring in more revenue. So whether maybe you have always sort of marketed to a specific demographic, but in order to capture more revenue, the idea is to capture more market share and just get more humans to buy your product or service, start expanding sort of who they serve or the ideal kind of clients they're going after. And with that, start to dilute the brand, start to dilute the value, dilute all the unique selling points, all of that. So this delusion actually does the opposite effect. Once you start kind of opening the floodgates to different groups of people, you start actually contracting the amount of conversions that you're getting because it simply doesn't work to talk to multiple people at the same time unless you have the funds and you have the team to do that. Okay. I want you to really take this to heart. If you have one ideal client, they're going to have one journey, right? The marketing strategy framework that I use is called the 24/7 marketing flywheel. It's also been called like the client journey. You can conceptualize it however you want, but it's essentially how are we moving people to first, like from knowing who we are into sort of nurturing them, getting ready to buy with us and sort of inviting them to buy with us and delivering our services to them, making them super happy. This process for one segment, one kind of client is incredibly complex and takes a lot of time, energy, effort to get right. And also it's a moving goalpost because oftentimes the way that we talk to clients, it's going to change and shift from year to year, from season to season. So it takes an incredible amount of power to create a really effective marketing program for one client, one ideal client. Once you start adding layers of different types of clients that you serve, you actually have to do that same process for each segment. I had a client that I worked with just this past quarter who has always served sort of women in their 50s and 60s. She's a coach, incredibly successful coach, but was looking to double her revenue this upcoming year. And her thinking, her instinct was like, yes, now I want to serve, I have women in their 50s and 60s, and I want to serve women in their 30s to 50s. And going through this exercise with her and showing her just how different the mindset it is for women in those two age brackets. Women with smaller children, they're going to the hooks that they're going to be attracted to on social media, the landing pages that are going to move them into action, the pain points that they have are completely different than women in their 50s and 60s. And so the reality is if you want to get to those two segments, you want to connect with them and move them into action, you have to develop two distinct content strategies, two distinct lead magnets, two distinct areas that you're going to find them, two different ads, right? That means diluting the amount of money, time, energy, and effort times two instead of having that strength of just one, right? And so a rule of thumb is if you haven't reached, at least I would say $1 to $3 million in revenue annually serving just one segment, I would not consider adding a different segment to the mix. So getting back to the main point here, our core values and creating a compelling brand message, I implore you to really think about your ideal client and taking an audit this year, going into this year, saying, have I deviated last year from this ideal client? Am I very clear on their needs, on their pain points? And am I communicating properly to them how I solve their problem, right? It's this brand communication strategy that is just so important. And again, one that is also a moving target because what people think about, what they're worried about, their problems shift from year to year and season to season. So we want to be very conscious to say, are the campaigns, the social messages, our landing page pertinent to my ideal client in this season, in this moment? That's going to get the most production out of all of your marketing, the marketing that you do. So how do we begin to really hone in on our core values, right? And how do we begin to translate all of the big sort of audacious goals and vision we have for our company and how we want to serve our clients and customers? How do we translate that into the marketing that we do? So this is what we're going to talk about now. The other thing that I want to mention, because I mentioned there's two pitfalls. So first was deviating from that segment, right? From that ideal client. The other one is thinking, if you've reached a plateau and your ideal client is not converting or performing the way that you need and want them to, the instinct is often to create like a brand new thing, like a brand new product, a brand new service. And I implore you not to do that in 2025, or at least really take pause and really have a think on whether this is the right move for you, because often it's not your product or service that has the problem. It's the way that you talk about your product and service. And that is all about brand communication. As I said, it's going to ebb and flow, and it's going to take some brain power and maybe some research or some surveys or some conversations in order to make sure that your marketing communication strategy, your messaging is really hitting and connecting with your target client and moving them into action. It's a constant process. But here are some basic things, these 3 steps that we're going to do so get out your pen and paper that you can do today to really take an audit on, if you're really doing well and communicating your core values and making sure that it's truly connecting with your target client and moving them into action. There's a couple things that we can do. So the first step here is really getting clear on mapping your core values. Okay. Your core values are unique to you as a founder. And these core values, I want you to connect with or re-engage with them if you've done this before, starting in with the new year. Because oftentimes as we go forward in business, things shift and change, right? As we're working with different clients or serving different customers, we have different experiences. Our ideas about what our business is and what we want our business to be will shift and change. But having a tight handle on your core values is the beginning of developing a true unique position in the world, or put into sales terms, a unique selling point, one that's going to connect with our audience and one that's going to stand out and be memorable. Our core values are unique to us. So I want you to take a couple minutes and I want you to map the core values that you have as an individual and the way that you want your business to show up in the world. I want you to map that out. And that may mean there's a couple words or phrases or even quotes that you connect with that is the vision of the business that you want to build, right? Because again, we don't want to just be throwing darts in the dark. If we are not clear on what our mission and values are, then we're not going to be building a business that's in line with that. And this is really important because not only will we build this mission these values, right? Which is tied to our mission. Not only are we building this for our own sake, but it's also for the sake and for the sake of our, our marketing program, but it's also so useful and important to share with our teams. And even if you have, freelancers or virtual assistants or whatever, you've kind of piecemealed a team together, I would invite you to really show up this year like you are running a true, legitimate, growing company that's going to make a huge impact in the world. And think of everyone that works in your business as team and train them properly. Make sure that they're on board and they understand what it is that you really want. We need to show up in this way to actually begin working towards actually living in that way. So let's take a moment and check in. What are the things that are most important to us in terms of how we serve, how we change people's lives, right? If we're not looking to do great things with our business, why are we even having a business, right? Many of you out there are heart-centered, truly passionate, innovative, creative people. And I know this because I'm in community with you, or I've worked with you. I know how much light and love that you want to bring to the world through your business. Let's make sure that we get that on paper and that that's very clear to us, right? We want clarity on what those core values are. Okay, so that's the first step. The second step is what I call building a value matrix. Okay, and our value matrix has a couple different elements. The value matrix is going to kind of list out these core values. And then I want you to connect these core values to our pain points of our ideal client, right? Because again, all of our businesses, we create our business to solve a problem. So we want to get clear on what is the problem that we solve and what are the pain points of our ideal client around that problem. Okay, this is the second step in building out that message, the messaging strategy that's going to really connect with our ideal client and move them into action. We need to showcase to them that we understand them, right? We need to understand our customers, our clients better than they understand themselves. That is how we become kick-ass marketers. That's how we sell a ton. So we understand our customers, we understand their needs. And the final step there, right, after we've mapped out their pain points, is really connecting their pain points to our solution, right? How does our product or service solve the problem that they have? And if you're struggling to kind of understand what are the problem that your clients have, I invite you to go through a little bit of an exercise where you kind of go through different layers. So you can say, practically, what is the problem that my customers have? You can talk about kind of the top level problems. But then I want you to challenge yourself to go a little bit deeper into the emotional side of what that problem does to your customer or your client. So for example, let's say that you are a B2B SaaS product and you help doctors' offices to manage their patient appointments, right? That's the software that you have. And so who is your customer? Who's the one that's going to actually buy your product, right? That may be your administrative, like administrators of medical administrators, or that could be the practice owners, right? A medical practice owner. And so you want to say, okay, practically you're going to help to manage your patient calendar, right? That's kind of the top line problem, right? Things are disorganized, then everything gets behind, patients are waiting around, they're upset, right? That's a surface level problem. But what about going deeper, right? What is the emotional state of that office assistant? That office assistant, they want to be oftentimes they're the organizers. They want to have everything handled. They want the doctor, their boss, right, to have confidence in them. To them, buying the right software solution is not just about managing a calendar. It's about them showing up as the hero of the office. the hero that has everything under control, that the doctor can worry just about serving the patient and giving the best care possible because they can feel confident that their office administration, the operations of their office is running smoothly, right? And then alternatively, what is the deeper desire of that doctor, that practice owner? Well, that doctor, they care deeply about doing right by their patients, because if they do right by their patients and they're not worried about operations and worried about angry patients that are coming in with, that have been waiting for too long and all of these things, they're going to have a better experience with the patient. The patient's going to recommend them more. They're going to get more patients coming to them and ultimately more revenue for their practice, right? So they're concerned most about the relationships that they have with the patient and how happy the patient is. And all of those pain points can be trickled down to a software product that can be mapped and connected to what the software product can do, right? The software product can manage the calendar, can send reminders, can send birthday messages, and all of these things that this calendar can do to help build that relationship, to nurture that patient, to make them loyal, to have them tell their friends and family, right? So the problems that we solve are not just the surface problems. There's always deeper emotional problems, even for B2B products. I think sometimes we often think like, these lifestyle products or these B2C things have more obvious kind of emotional connection. No, all products and services, sales and marketing is always a emotional process. It doesn't matter if you're B2B or B2C. And then last but not least, right? So we've created a list of our core values. We've gotten clear on that. We've built a messaging matrix where we've outlined those core values. We've outlined the pain points of our customers, of our clients, and then we've connected those pain points, the surface level pain points, the deeper pain points, to our solutions. How do we solve our pain points from the specific product features or the specific service details, the different services that we do? How do we map that to the pain points to help to relieve the pain, to solve the problem? We want to get super clear on that. We want it mapped out in a document, and we want it so clear that we can, and we should train everyone that works with us on this. The people that do our social media, so even our virtual assistant that's managing our inbox. We want our ads person. We want our copywriters. We want everyone to understand what are the problems that we're solving, what are the core values of the business, and how we live on those core values, right? The way we bring those core values to life should have connection to the way we serve clients if we have a service-based business, or the way that our product helps clients, or the way that we treat our customers should be mapped to those core values. We want that very clear. And that can be a simple Google document. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It doesn't have to be a 10-page slide deck. It can just be a simple one-page document, 3 columns where we're mapping these 3 pieces. The last piece of the puzzle, when we're talking about copy, we're talking about marketing strategy, we're talking about tactics that truly connect and move people into action. It's not enough to just have this messaging matrix mapped out, okay? We need to be able to turn those messages into stories that people will connect with, right? Storytelling through our content marketing strategy through social media, storytelling on the copy of our website. Stories help connect people to your brand, and they help to crystallize, right? Exactly how you solve their problems, right? It gives them proof. It gives them ideas, right? And it also helps to solidify things in their mind. Now, storytelling could be done through your founder story. A lot of founders that are brands that are founder led can have incredible success with sort of driving through their own experiences. Stories can also be through client testimonials or case studies, or it could also be describing problems and solutions that your team have come up against, right? The problems that they've had working with a particular client and how that problem was solved, right? but you want to be adding value through these stories. And again, if we can be creating these stories that connect not only to your core values and showcase your values, right? Show, don't tell through stories, but then also map the pain point and the solution through that story. It's going to help illustrate this whole entire communication strategy to your ideal client, but also it's going to be a way of connecting more deeply, right? Because the stories that we tell, that resonates more deeply with our audience and helps to crystallize and showcase to them exactly what our product and service does and how it can help them. So again, 3 steps. We want to map those core values. We want to build a messaging matrix that connects those 3 parts, the core values, the pains, and the solutions. And then we want to start to develop some stories around those problems and our solutions and our experiences, right? What stories can we tell that showcase that we know what we're talking about? How can we create stories that help our customer to understand that we're just like them, or we understand them because we've worked with people like them, or we have been them before, right? And that's going to help us make that human connection. So I invite you to go through this process yourself. And if you're feeling like a little bit unsure about your brand on a whole, I want to invite you to check out a free resource that I have. It is called How to Build a Brand That Gets People Talking. It's a free downloadable guide. You can grab it at uglyventures.com/resources. So ugly with an I, ugliventures.com/resources. And you can download that brand guide right there for free. And it's going to help walk you through some of these steps that I mentioned today, but also help you dig a little bit deeper into your brand. It's a really great resource. While you're there, there's a couple other resources that may be of interest to you that help you build a sales-focused marketing strategy and to help you end marketing overwhelm, something that I know we all want to do this year. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I love talking to founders and listeners of the podcast. You can reach out to me via DM on LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my time. Victoria Hajar, just find me. You can connect with me and send me a message, any of your questions, and I might just very well answer those questions here on the podcast, especially for you, or give you some good ideas over DM. We can open up a conversation there. Until next week, I just want you to know that I think you're doing great. It's the beginning of the year. We're starting with a lot of energy. I want you to keep that momentum and go into this year with this mentality of mastering the basics. Marketing can be incredibly distracting. My intention with this podcast is to help to refocus you on the things that matter most when it comes to marketing and driving revenue in your business and maintaining that 10,000-foot view, because that is your biggest job as a leader and the CEO of your business, to help guide your team to success. That's how we get to the next level. So if you want more marketing goodness, I'll see you back here next week for the next episode of the Scalable Marketing Machine Podcast. You did it. You made it to the end of the episodes. Thanks for sticking around with me and listening all the way to the end. I really appreciate you as an audience member, and I hope that you found this helpful. If you did like this episode, it would mean so much to me if you subscribed, if you rate and review this podcast. It helps other people know that this podcast has something worth saying. It also would be super awesome if you could take a screenshot and share on Instagram and tag me at Ugly Ventures, UGLI Ventures, VENTURES. I am always so appreciative to hear from you, and I hope to see you back here next week